Hey guys, how are you guys doing today? We have another super exciting video taking a look at the Taylormade Sim 2 driver. We've got loads more information, loads more to talk about. This is going to be a bit of an update video. If you haven't seen the previous video where we talk about the Taylormade Sim driver, I highly recommend checking out that video. We give you guys all the information, all the photos we've previously looked at, but today we actually have more information, we have more photos to show you, and a lot more to talk about in this video about these new products that look like they're going to be released very soon. So it's a very exciting time. So what are the first things we're going to talk about? Well, we actually have photos of the crown of the driver, of the top, so you can see what it's going to look like down at the ball, which obviously we didn't have in the previous video. We just had photos of the bottom of the drivers, and we had some information about the driver lineup, with it being Sim 2, Sim 2 Max, and then a Sim 2 draw bias driver as well. So let's talk about the top of the driver first of all. Let's start out there, let's start out with the crown, and let's take a look at this image of it. So at first glance, there's not a huge amount to look at. Taylormade apparently have made this a much deeper driver, which we did mention in the last video. So it's going to look a little bit, I guess, more squashed down at the ball. I would say almost more similar to like an Epic, you know, Callaway Epic or something like that. That kind of head shape where it's a bit of a deeper face, not quite such a big footprint maybe, which personally for me, I prefer a bigger footprint to a deeper face, but we'll have to wait and see. But at first glance, it does look like that is going to be true. It looks like that front sliver of the driver at the front is actually white, which is very interesting. And obviously then you've got black kind of behind that, and then this kind of blue that goes around the edge of the rim of the driver, and it does look like that's going to be featuring some new technology that we are going to be talking about as well, and that is very exciting. So first glances, it looks like it's going to look good down at the ball. But if we take a look at this driver, here I've got the Taylormade M5, and I would say at first glance from the top, it looks pretty similar. It looks like the actual shaping of it is pretty similar. It's got similar kind of width of line at the front. We can't see the club face, annoyingly, in this picture, but it definitely looks pretty similar to this driver. It's got this cutaway here that's the same. Obviously this is just silver, and the Taylormade Sim 2, it's going to be white. What do you guys prefer? Do you prefer white? Do you prefer silver? I think the white looks cool. I think the current Taylormade Sim drivers look great down at the ball. I think they look really good. I love the grey. And the one thing I do want to mention with this is when I first saw this image, I was maybe a little bit disappointed, because my first thought was that it looked like this driver. And I think what Taylormade have done really well with like all the M series drivers and then into Sim is they've made them look different but similar. So they've subtly changed, you know, different things. The width of this line, obviously when we had M1 and M2 right at the beginning, we had that thick band across, and they've made it thinner, they've made it different colors, they've made the top, you know, the crown into that nice gray, and I think they've done that really well. So it felt like a little bit of a step back maybe for me, in terms of just kind of something we maybe had already seen. I think it would have been cool to maybe go with like a black or something along that front. That could have looked really different, really cool, really kind of, you know, different from anything they've ever done. And maybe if they'd kept that grey, maybe they kept the back more grey and did more of a black along there. But some other news about this driver is apparently it will be coming in some customizability options in terms of color. Now that's really, really interesting in and of itself. So maybe we'll see that you can actually have a color selection. You can actually change what this sliver of kind of driver is going to be, and maybe you can even change the crown. Maybe you can keep it gray. Maybe you can make it white and make it, and then have it as black as well. And now let's talk about the bottom of the driver, because this is something that is really interesting. And again, with us talking about customizability, it's something that definitely leads us into that. So let's take a look at these more images of the driver that we've since gotten through. So here we can see a good image of the bottom of the driver, and we can actually see kind of the back of the driver from a different angle than we could do before just looking down at the club. Now, the first thing that drew my eye, obviously, you've got this huge weight port. It looks like some great aerodynamics going on. You've got that huge kind of sliver, the driver's cutting away, but you've got that really good weight keeping that CG low and back in the head for ultra forgiveness. And the next thing that drew my eye was this writing that's actually on the very back of the driver, and that says forged aluminium, or aluminum, however you want to say it, if you're American, English, whatever you might be. Forged aluminum. And yeah, that's interesting. To my knowledge, I have never heard of a golf brand using aluminum in a golf club. Maybe it's happened, I just might not be aware of it. I've never seen any marketing about that. So that will be interesting. I'm sure if they've written it in pretty big writing on the back of the driver, I'm sure there will be some marketing coming out telling us the story of what it is and how it's going to work and everything like that. So that will be really interesting as well. And as well, with us talking about the customizability of colors, it also looks like maybe that panel actually goes around the whole outside of the driver, and maybe that panel is actually a heavier construction, being aluminium, or maybe it just gives more support to the driver because it's going around the edge. And if Taylormade are doing customizability with the colors, it would be my guess that you would be able to change the color of that panel as well, which would be definitely really cool, really interesting, and I think would grab a lot of people's attention. To be able to actually customize the color of that would be really, really cool. Especially because they've chosen for this driver that we've got the image of, in my opinion, I just don't like that little sliver of green, kind of a yellowy green, just doesn't look good to me. If they'd made that white, gray, black, it would just look so much better in my personal opinion. So, and now let's talk about some of the other images we've got. Let's have a look at one of the other images we've got. And this is quite a cool image. Actually, at first, I didn't really look at this too much, but then something caught my eye, and we will be getting onto that in a second. So let's talk about the front of the driver here. It says high MOI, low spin. So you've got that weight. And that weight looks, even though this is just the Sim 2, by the way, it's not the Sim 2 draw bias driver, that weight is quite close to the heel, which makes me think maybe Taylormade have thought, most people want to hit a draw, most people struggle hitting a draw, we're going to make our stock driver just a little bit draw bias. So that will be interesting to see if that's the case. It might be, it might not be, all we can do is speculate, but it does look like that weight is more towards the heel than in the middle, so that would be my immediate thought. Also, you've got that speed slot that, again, has become quite popular in Taylormade drivers. And actually, this driver is a 9°, so it looks like this driver will be coming out in 9°. And obviously, the last video we had a look, the driver was a 10.5°. So pretty certain it's going to be coming out in 9 and 10.5°. Now let's talk about the one thing that caught my eye with this picture, which actually I didn't notice in the other images we had a look at in the previous video. And if we look right in the middle of the driver head, it kind of looks like there's nothing there, but actually if you look closely, there is a kind of Taylormade, looks to be like almost like an imprinted logo or something. Now these images aren't the best quality images. When Taylormade comes out with their marketing and advertising, we're going to be getting a lot better quality images, and I'm sure it will make the driver look a ton better. So, that could be cool. That could look really cool if they found a way of, doing that design of their logo right in the middle of the club head, and it's quite subtle as well. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good in my opinion. Obviously we can see in the Hosel as well with this driver that it's obviously an interchangeable neck and club face and Hosel. I would be unlikely, I think, for anything to change there. I would be surprised. Maybe you might get a few other little options and to tweak it certain ways, but Taylormade drivers have been pretty good for that in the past, so maybe there's probably not really a huge amount they can do there. The other thing I'm really hoping with this driver, we do have some new technology we can see from these images, but I think there will be more going on with this driver than meets the eye. I think there will be more marketing and hype and going on with the technology, and maybe that's to do with something inside the club head, maybe it's to do with the club face, because obviously that's something we can't see from these images. But the other thing we did briefly touch on in the last video is that maybe they will have some sort of smart technology in there, like Cobra does with the Arcos smart sensors. Maybe, Taylormade will partner with Arcos and have some sort of technology in the grips of their clubs. That would be quite cool, definitely. And especially as Taylormade likes to be seen as they invest the most in R&D, so they're pushing the boundaries the most and the most technologically advanced golf brand. I think that would be a good step, and that would be a big selling point as well. That with the customizability, and maybe we won't get too much other new technology. Maybe Taylormade will just say, we're just tweaking different things, we're just trying different things. Our drivers are already very good, we can only make small improvements. I mean, they are so limited by what the governing bodies do that they're not always able to make these huge improvements that we would love to see them making. That's just how it is. So let me know what you guys think about that. Comment your thoughts down below. I'd love to know what you guys think of this driver. First look, do you think it will be customizable in terms of colors? Are you interested in buying it, or do you like it? Do you not like it? Why do you like it or not like it as well? How have you found the current Sim driver lineup as well? That would be interesting to know your thoughts. I've had a lot of people messaging me saying, or commenting saying, oh, well, I'm glad these are being released because the previous generation will go down in price and I'll just pick one of those up. And I mean, that's quite a good way for us as consumers to buy golf products and save money on good golf products to get the previous generation. I mean, it's always nice though to have the newest stuff. It's always nice to turn up at your golf club with the newest golf clubs and something no one else has. And who doesn't love that? I mean, I personally do. I think a lot of people do. As golfers, we spend a huge amount of money on golf products and everything. So but let me know what you guys think about these images. It's certainly interesting. It's great to discuss them. Give this video a like, subscribe to my channel. If I find any other images or information, I will be letting you guys know about any other golf brands products as well. So make sure you are subscribed, and as always guys, grip it and rip it.